it's time to criticize Oblivion. After this, I'm going to return back into modding videos. Have in mind, I am extremely biased towards Oblivion because it was one of my most beloved Elder Scrolls games when I was growing up until Skyrim knocked on my door. The reason why I loved Oblivion so much was not for its gameplay, or the RPG elements or mechanics, or the characters, or the friends I made, it was the atmosphere it had.
Similar to that. It's actually the top of a dome, but I'm using it for the top of an altar instead. So once I add all these different layers into it, it's more like the final texture.
You know, we've been able to make this living, breathing city that's like actually there. It's like, man, I totally live here.
The same reason why I personally believe, and that might be a hot take, that Fallout 3 is also my most favorite Fallout game when it comes to its aesthetics and the atmosphere. I don't think any other Fallout game beats Fallout 3 when it comes to that, and Oblivion does the same when it comes to the setting it tries to achieve. Both of those two games have one thing in common. Do you know what that is? It's the legend that is known as Adam Adamovich, which is such a badass name, and in case you don't know who that person is, he's the reason behind Bethesda's success when it came down to its fascinating worlds.
I spend a lot of my time on weekends going through DC with a digital camera, and when you're going around the White House taking pictures of manhole covers, people want to know why you're taking pictures of manhole covers around the White House. And I always thought to myself, well, my answer would be very simple. I'm just imagining what this would all look like if it was blown up.
The landscapes you know and love from Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim and Fallout 3. He was the main director that handcrafted everything himself, with his passion, with his love for crafting those beautiful living worlds. But today I'm gonna limit myself just to talk about Oblivion. Sadly, he passed away 1 year after Skyrim came out, so Adam Adamovich, may you rest in peace. The one thing that Oblivion does better in my opinion than any other Elder Scrolls game is its charm. This video already got a little bit dramatic. Let's jump back. I will try to be fair by skipping my biased persona because I love Oblivion so much. I'll be having a blast playing the remaster. Have in mind, Oblivion is a very old game. It's a 14-year-old game, so I am not gonna take into account all of those super old mechanics that serve like a relic of the past. Oblivion actually is so old that when I was firstly introduced into it, my mouse used to have balls in it. Try to think that for a minute, that's a very long time. On this video, I am going to voice the things I feel the most problematic with Oblivion. At first, I wanted to split this video into goods and bads, but then I realized I'm gonna end up having an hour-long video, so I want to limit this to make this video as short as I humanly possibly can. Have in mind, I'm not an expert when it comes to those videos. Usually I make modding guides, so I'm already out of the water, if that's the phrase. Lastly, and I'm moving on, I promise, I'm going to give at the end my personal ranking the remaster from 1 to 10, 1 being horrible example of a remaster. A good example of that is GTA San Andreas or Dragon Age Veilguard, and 10 being a perfect remaster like the very recent Legacy of Kain, in my opinion one of the best games ever made. This is about Oblivion. Let's move to the first thing I don't like. And this is the optimization, which is horrible. Oblivion Remaster runs so bad, especially on PC. Have in mind, I don't know how smooth it runs on Xbox or PS5. I am mostly going to speak about PC here when it comes to the optimization. If you're playing this on console, let me know again down in the comments. I'm curious to hear your experience. Oblivion Remaster is so bad optimized that every time I get a stutter in specific areas and places, it beautifully delivers the old experience we all had and loved back with the original Oblivion. It does stay faithful on its source material. Even the crashes when they happen, which is quite often, especially when I use alchemy for some reason, those crashes serve as a nice break because sometimes we need to get up and stretch, and it's a nice healthy way for the game to tell us to take a break. I'm joking, guys. Nobody likes crashes, nobody likes stutters. It's really abysmal in this game. The whole optimization, it's extremely bad. Virtuos Studios, the studio behind this remaster, have made an announcement that they are going to add an update very soon to fix some of those issues and add even more things. So expect updates to happen, but until that day comes, number one is horrible optimization. And before I move on and everybody calls this a no-brainer, know that this is an extremely toxic relationship that continues to exist between Bethesda Studios and the players. Bethesda releasing extremely broken games in an unplayable state only to have the players to work with their free time, their money, their own resources to fix their game. I expected Virtuos Studios to have a different approach to this, which I've said we are going to get some updates, but it also indicates the fact that the unhealthy, abusive if I may, relationship that players and Bethesda has is only going to get worse. So again, look at this as a sign for what's to come in the future. That could be Fallout 3 Remaster, that could be The Elder Scrolls 6. So I find this to be more important than maybe everything else I'm going to mention in this video, but again, maybe you can clarify this if you agree or not. I'm gonna cover one more boring thing before we move to the spicy stuff, and I'm gonna kinda make a soup and put everything on just to be done with it. The second thing that I don't like about Oblivion Remaster is that because the game came out 14 years ago, it has so many systems that stay true to that age and era that have not been reworked at all. And you might say this is a good thing because it stays truthful to its original material. It's actually not. I'm gonna list just a few. If you are playing the remaster and maybe you are a new player, first of all, welcome to Oblivion. You are tied down for an amazing experience. I know that Virtuos has improved some parts of the combat, which is great, but when it comes to the horrible level scaling of items that you find in the game, it's something that both new players and old veterans are finding atrocious about the game. If you go and finish a quest to get Sword of Cyrodiil or the Grey Fox helmet, it will scale with your level, 25 being the max as far as I know. This system punishes you for completing quests at early levels. It's something that if you're coming from a game like Skyrim or other RPGs, you're gonna find it really bad. There is the speechcraft system and the whole speech egg that I find completely useless. I can describe the speechcraft system in Oblivion the same way Caravan plays in Fallout New Vegas. Also, let's speak about the fact that you have to spend 5 and 8 loading screens per dungeon because similar to Morrowind or Arena, Oblivion, it's a dungeon crawler. Some people like that, some hate it. As I've said, I will try not to be biased. Unlike Skyrim, where you finish a dungeon, you cannot go back. You have to spend those 5-6 loading screens fighting randomly spawned enemies, and once you finish the dungeon, have in mind you have to deal with the horrible loot system, the horrible difficulty system, from adept difficulty all the way to expert and master. Everything hits 5 times harder. Once you finish a dungeon, after you deal with all of those issues, you have to spend another 6 loading screens just to go back. It's a statement of how old this game is. I can't believe I'm saying this. Grab your cameras, everyone. If you had a bad time with Starfield and it's plentiful of loading screens, Oblivion is going to feel even worse. They could have easily removed many of the interior doors in those dungeons to reduce, let's say, the loading from having to deal deal with 5 to 6 loading screens to maybe 2 and 3, and you expect me to believe that Elder Scrolls 6 is not going to have that many loading screens? Todd has to give some explanation. When Skyrim came out and introduced exits from dungeons like that, it was something that completely influenced every single RPG that came out before it. Also, companions do not exist aside from very few quests. It was a time where Bethesda was not really invested into companions, so if you're into that, you're not going to find any. There are some parts of combat that are still bad, the difficulty system, the whole AI being more broken than Skyrim's. If you try any stealth build or stealth spells, you will figure out that the Radiant AI that Virtuos Studios was speaking about, it's more AI than it is Radiant. There is multiple enemies T-posing, recharging magic items feels horrible and slow, and have in mind you are playing Oblivion without the unofficial patch. That means all of the bugs that existed 14 years ago exist to this game. Many will call those type of bugs features, but when I crash every time I use alchemy, or when I have to flip a coin every time I do a quest, for the same quest not to be bugged, I don't think that's a very good thing. But hopefully, again, most of those things will get addressed. Maybe an unofficial patch will come at some point. It's tradition at this point. From the modding community, only Todd knows. Now that the boring stuff is out of the way, let's start with the spicy stuff. First of all, I want to speak about the charm of the game, of which I have mixed feelings. After playing Oblivion Remaster for over 30 hours, I feel that the original charm of the game, which as I've said in my introduction was maybe the best and most unique thing about Oblivion aside from nostalgia of course, I think the strongest element of the game is being reduced by this remaster, and let me explain before you type your comments. I remember my young self sitting down on Shimmering Isles and looking at the night sky. There were so many colors, different planets, everything was looking so unique and so beautiful, all the textures of the grass, the trees. On the remaster, while being on the Shimmering Isles, I've tried to do the exact same thing, and I figured out that there was this weird green filter everywhere. It felt like I was playing Fallout for some reason, and I've tried to wait for a bunch of few days only to realize this is how the game looks now, I guess. I always thought that picking the grass Pokemon was for the cool kids, but this might be a little bit too much green for me. And before you call me nitpicking, let me explain. This problem also persists in Cyrodiil. The lighting feels very strange, and the atmosphere feels very dull, very heavy compared to the original game. There is this mist, you can almost smell it in the air.
I hate this place. This zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it, I can't stand it any longer. It's the smell.
I love realistic colors in any video game I play, but as I've said, I will try not to be biased for this. Oblivion, or should I say Cyrodiil, is the place where it's known to be the most colorful, the most mythical. It literally has minotaurs in the game. In my opinion, original Oblivion had the most colorful, most beautiful variation when it came down to landscapes, even better than Skyrim, but again that might be my opinion. But with this new color palette that Oblivion Remaster brought, everything feels brown or green. We have this funny joke going around with the Fallout New Vegas community. Everybody loves the peace filter we have in the vanilla game. It feels kinda funny that we actually got the same peace filter for this. So yeah, the peace filter has returned to Oblivion Remaster. I think it ruins the original atmosphere of the game, and even the lighting feels also strange combined with the shadows. Most of the indoor areas look for the most part fine, but when you go outside, I don't think the whole setup looks very well, and I don't think I am the only one who thinks that way. From my modding experience, a mix of a good lighting mode and a shadow mode can make such a big difference in a game, versus to what this remaster has done, which is primarily to focus only on textures alone, leaving out all of the beautiful charm Oblivion had, not emphasizing or enhancing what already was there. And the lighting and the shadows in this remaster, combined with the peace filter and this dense fog that exists everywhere, which makes the whole air feel vague, it really concerns me, because the one thing that Oblivion had, in my opinion, that no other Elder Scrolls game could compete with was its charm, and I feel that very charm is being attacked, and it shows that Virtuos Studios probably have no faith in the source material, or they haven't really studied Oblivion, because this is something so basic even a simpleton like me knows about it. A recent example of a studio failing to remaster a game to its proper form, in my opinion, was the newest Silent Hill remaster, which if you go and check scene by scene, the shadows, the characters, and I'm not speaking only about the censorship, plainly shadows and lighting, I can see Virtuos Studios suffering the same symptoms here.
But there is nothing like the sight of an amputated spirit. There is no prosthetic for that.
The fourth thing I don't like is the creatures. I don't like how they represented the wildlife and the creatures in this game. The original creatures used to blend with the environment, the mud crabs, the trolls, even the goblins. On this remaster they look oversaturated and super weird. They feel less unique now. Trolls literally look like gorillas. In Skyrim you had snow trolls in the snowy mountains, and you also had cave trolls having different colors to match their environment. In Oblivion we had green trolls because it showed that these creatures have adapted with the scenery of Cyrodiil, and all of this shows you that again Adam Adamovich knew what he was doing when he was cooking, and Virtuos Studios has pretty much no idea what they are doing. They're just replacing the creatures that used to have environmental storytelling into them, and they just make them boring creatures, from trolls looking like gorillas, from goblins looking like normal humans with weird faces, and don't get me started with the creatures on the DLCs and pretty much everything. Most of the colors, most of the sizes, they feel like they mismatch to their original assets, and thumbs up to the Firelink Conspiracy, which is an amazing channel that I found out very recently. And also I want to thank my viewers, I'm sorry if I'm gonna murder your names, Rexpelagius and Jhonataezequiel4423. Again, I'm sorry if I killed your names, but to be honest, it's a custom in this household to kill the names. I want to thank you for sharing this channel to me. If you want to check more about that stuff when it comes to the creatures and this whole thing, go and check Firelink's video. I will put the link down in the video description. He talks way more in depth about it. He's way more charismatic than me, so give it a go. Creatures in an RPG game is not only about the enemies and the variety, it's about environmental storytelling.
But, you know, he found some whiskey and a shotgun. All right, you know, things start to coagulate, and I think a lot of times these characters and situations are really, for me, they're found. And I feel like I'm documenting something that I found, and if it's unclear, it's because, well, I haven't quite found it yet.
In terms of the art specifically, you know, we were kind of given a lot of liberty to sort of decide how we want to reinterpret the game, because there's really so much you can do.
And explaining the world through those characters, those assets. A very good example of that is the Fallout universe, where you play on a post-apocalyptic world and you can see those giant rat scorpions, and you put in your head, oh, this is what will happen if scorpions will survive 300 years through radiation, which by the way is very similar to what lives in Australia. genitalia. But again, this is not only about visual aesthetics, this is about environmental storytelling, which Oblivion was so rich of that it feels that it's also being reduced to the ground. Let's speak about the fifth thing I don't like about this remaster, but I think it's a serious problem to the game. And it's the censorship and the removal of previous content, which doesn't remain faithful to, again, the source material. You know what's my most favorite thing in Elder Scrolls games? And I know this might be my type of thing that nobody else is doing, but every time an Elder Scrolls game used to come out, one of the first things I used to do, I will go out, collect every single armor piece, and I will put them on and try them on both male and female, because I wanted to see which looks the best, because looks are important, right? Well, in this remaster, there is no female armors aside from maybe few pieces that I could count on my one hand. I loved collecting different armors, and I loved how unique they always looked. Even in Starfield we have that, so it's not something Bethesda forgot how to do, but for some reason, one of the most charming RPGs Bethesda has made, we actually don't have female armors anymore. This makes the game suffer a lot, for various reasons. First of all, the armors we've got, they don't feel very protective in the remaster. It feels like they are not made out of metal, they feel weird, and that makes them look way less unique, because they're kinda cartoonish looking. And I don't know if that was intentional from the studio, or they just maybe did not have enough time to add the armors or work on it. Again, this is something that really gives me mixed feelings about this, because collecting armors and items and weapons is my most favorite thing when it comes to Elder Scrolls games. Even the weapons look kinda plasticky. This mostly affects the armors, which again I have no idea how they managed to make most of the weapons look alright, but they kinda messed up the armors. It shows me that Virtuos Studios has no idea what they were doing with those, on similar fashion with what I've mentioned above. And don't get me started, not having female armor variants in a high fantasy game like Oblivion makes it where every time you go out to explore or you go to combat, you only see one type of armor variation. Good luck figuring out if you're fighting a male or a female, which removes a lot of enemy variation. I believe that the only real choice we have when it comes to making a character in Oblivion Remaster is males. There is no females anymore. Just look at the body type 1 and body type 2. It feels to me like this was a deliberate mistake on the Armored's part, because Virtuos Studios wanted to push this, which I'm gonna talk about that later. But if you find this again me overreaching or me being way too dramatic about it, just compare the colors of the new armors we have. The Emperor's robe, they look like pajamas now, but the colors, they are not there. Most of the metallic or scaly parts, look at Mithril, it looks like Power Rangers outfit. Like, what is this? I feel the whole art/charm direction of the game is under attack, and I hope more people see this. I hate the fact that Virtuos Studios, that is owned by Bethesda, that is owned by Microsoft, they are doing this on this beautiful masterpiece. It ruins the immersion of the game, and again, I'm trying not to be biased, maybe I am, I don't know, you guys let me know about it, maybe I am the crazy one after all. But when I play a fantasy game, I like to choose if I want to play as Conan the Barbarian or Sylvanas from WoW, and I can give even more strong examples like that. So when you remove my choice to do this in a high fantasy game, I don't know, it truly lessens the experience for me. And one thing is certain, until we get so much to fix things, I am not going to play a female character in this remake. It doesn't give me any hopes for Virtuos Studios. If anything, it diminishes them. But thankfully, people have shown they will not stand for this.
This is such a crock of shit!
Next, let's speak about Virtuos Studios, which is a random studio that Bethesda hired as the successor, I guess, of remaking, remastering, whatever you want to call it, Oblivion. They did a fair job. They tried to add many things, adding the Unreal Engine, which is quite crazy, never done before in Bethesda, or fixing the gameplay, adding extra voices to NPCs. They have done a fair bit, but the remaster, as I've mentioned previously, it doesn't feel like the studio gave their heart and soul in order to give us the best remaster they could make. Like a good example is Legacy of Kain, the Soul River. Oblivion Remaster should be another case of that. And in my opinion, what makes a good remaster? When you try to keep the spirit on while trying to enhance small things. The only reason why this game feels so close to the original is that Bethesda or Virtuos Studios haven't done anything at all. If they were playing Fallout New Vegas, Virtuos Studios have maxed out the lag stat because by risking and having Creation Engine 1 means they haven't done anything to fix that, given that we don't have the unofficial patch and all of those issues. The Creation Engine is the sole reason why we have all this junk, those memeable moments, and this very close to the original Oblivion experience. So Virtuos Studios haven't done really this much for this remaster aside from adding few things, but when it comes to knowing and loving the original source material and keeping it faithful, in my honest opinion, they have failed. The charm of the game, the whole discrimination of female characters or female assets, the bad UI being even worse than the original game, or physics not working properly. There are so many mistakes like that, which gives you a perfect picture of what is going to follow on the Fallout 3 remaster and what is going to follow on the next Elder Scrolls, because behind Virtuos Studios is Bethesda. Let me ask you something. Do you trust Virtuos Studios with the work they have done to deliver you a proper DLC or extra content into this remake, where the only DLC they have offered is the horse armor? And if you see how you get this, it's so lame and it's so boring. I wouldn't have any faith in Virtuos Studios delivering any extra content when it comes to Oblivion. Hopefully, God forbid, they're going to add some patches and update the already broken state of the game. Call it optimization, call it an official patch. It's not like Bethesda has forgotten how to make those things, but apparently not for this remaster, which shows you what is going to follow for this remaster unless something drastically changes or the modding community steps in as a savior and fixes this game as they always done. It's a custom at this point in the Bethesda community. Closing this video, I'm gonna follow with my rank. Oblivion Remaster, in my opinion, is a fun experience, but comes with many problems. You know what? So it's Skyrim, so it's Morrowind, and so it's my most favorite RPG of all time, Fallout New Vegas. I've realized on a young age that growing older means looking back at the things you love and noticing the cracks. I had every reason to be biased, given that I'm having such a fun time playing this remaster. I'm ranking this as a remaster, I'm not ranking the original game. If you will ask me what I think about it, I will tell you that I would love to have a similar remaster to Fallout New Vegas, to have it run on a modern engine at least. Shows you overall that this game has many negatives, but overall I think for the most players is a remaster that everybody wanted, even if it came on this form, including the negatives. If I have to remove the fact that this is a 15-year-old game, I would rank the Oblivion Remaster 8 adoring fans out of 10. So what do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Or even more important, do you have fun time playing the Oblivion Remaster or not? I will start making more modding videos soon. I'm sorry for this controversial arc, but I really wanted to address my opinions because the sole reason I've made this channel is to express myself. Thank you so much for watching this. If you've made it through the end, it means a lot, and I will see you until next time. Until then, stay safe and peace.